I have seen every single episode of The Walking Dead. Therefore, I feel I'm more than qualified to play and succeed at any zombie survival game out there. So when my favorite waterfowl, MrAtomicDuck, invited me to try out the new Project Zomboid Multiplayer with him, I knew I had to seize this opportunity with only a few weeks of hesitation. So without further ado, here's my first day's experience playing Project Zomboid. One more line of ado. I'll tell you how I feel about the game at the end of the video. It was a bright and early Sunday, probably. I cover all the windows in my room with blankets to block out the sun, and it was time to get this bad boy started. I opened up Zomboid, and was greeted by this furry little raccoon. I was told he's the mascot of Project Zomboid. You go, little buddy. It took me a little too long to type in all of the server info necessary to access MrAtomicDuck's server, but after some amount of time, we got it. We started downloading all the appropriate malware and viruses, then decided life for me would be best lived in Rosewood, Kentucky. Now came the hard part. What the hell was I? It was time to find out. At first I thought I'd become a farmer, a humble occupation. Then I was quickly talked out of it. I briefly thought of choosing a security guard, but then thought construction worker was my true calling. Next came character creation, a staple in any survival game. I quickly randomized myself into what I thought my ideal version of myself would be, then clicked next. Some funny words popped up on the screen and we were in. Many minutes of settings adjustments later, we had a playable game. I was once again made happy at the sight of this beaver, and I started getting a feel for how to move my little hot dog legs around. I was welcomed to the server with two gifts, a burrito and a baseball bat. Kinda sounds like a Chronicles of Narnia movie title. I was then given a brief tutorial on how to f zombies up. The server doesn't have PvP, so I can't possibly hurt my teammate, which is great because I really wasn't careful with where I was swinging this thing. A helpful community member came in from Duck's stream and told me to hit a button. I can't remember which button it was as I'm writing this, but he said it would make me do a funny dance. It actually made me do a funny yell, which then attracted all the nearby zombies. I had been, as the kids say, bamboozled. We then beat up the local tough guy and stole his leather jacket. A few moments later, we found who I imagine used to be a schoolboy, beat him up, and stole his backpack. Found a can opener and a copy of Uncle Billy's Kentucky Moonshine on CD, if you remember what those are. I was introduced to the map feature of Zomboid. I actually thought this was really cool, as it tracks where you are in real time and reveals locations you've actually traveled to. After getting smarter, I got stupider and drew a big trash can on the map in permanent pen. This could not be erased. I also learned that before you climb through a broken window, you should probably remove the shards of glass surrounding it first. More on this later. I came across an orange soda, drank it, then used it as a water bottle, as one would do. Duck did something similar, but with a jar of mayo, for some reason. Remember the broken window tip? Well, I forgot about that. I jumped through this window and peeled off a little skin, kinda like you would peel a potato. This was a great time to learn about the med mechanic of Zomboid. My right hand had been, quote unquote, scratched. I ripped up some socks in a fit of rage and used the scraps to stop the bleeding. The red text turned green, and I knew I had done a good job. We found a bandage vendor nearby and stocked up just in case there were any more happy accidents. I ran into my arch nemesis, the window, again, and for a brief moment, I forgot how they worked. We came across a his and her doghouse set, as well as what I assume was the dog's family vehicle parked right in front of their home. Duck checked it out and discovered all it needed to become operational was a little quick ingenuity. All it needed was a good old-fashioned hot wiring. We shelved that idea for the time being and went to check out the parking lot across the street. We then stumbled into a library where I learned about the books of Zomboid. Essentially those blank for dummies books that you may have seen IRL. Our mission here was to grab the beginner's books so we could learn ourselves into a better life. Since I had the backpack, I became the pack mule. The backpack mule. I reminisced on my younger days for a while Ducky was in the pooper. Cleaned my festering hand wound, then noticed the little fox boy was on my backpack. A zombie face planted on the door and startled me. Then we made our way back to the car. It was time to get the wheels operational. One small criminal offense later, we were mobile. After a short drive through the suburbs, we decided that this home right here was now our home. I got stuck in some sort of vehicle exiting time loop, then repelled all of the home invaders off. One of the ruffians scratched me. I feared for a while that this was going to be the end of me, but luckily a scratch is not fatal. A bite is, but a scratch is not. We officially claimed this house as ours, and then I used the little survivor's room to tend to my multiple wounds. We tried to disinfect a bandage with the bottle of disinfectant we found, but unfortunately there was not enough disinfectant in the bottle of disinfectant to disinfect the bandage. Oh well, just another day in a zombie apocalypse, I guess. We stocked the bookshelves with all the books we had found earlier. I munched on half the burrito I had stuffed in my pocket for nutrition, then noticed something funny. My character was getting bored. Bleeding from multiple body parts, becoming home invaders, and eating burritos wasn't good enough for my character? Well, I must be Indiana Jones or something, because I know I wouldn't consider myself bored after going through something like that, but oh well. We rummaged a local bar and I found some cigarettes that I decided I wanted to start smoking. Sometime later, after rummaging multiple buildings for food and supplies, we made it back to our abode and found a bunch of drunk college kids passed out on the lawn. Must have been a crazy party. We took a midnight stroll for fun, then read an entire book on carpentry for beginners in about 10 minutes. Rejuvenated from our read, we took a midnight drive to the gas station, found a wide array of junk food, and then I beat up this burglar and saved the gas station from getting robbed by the less deserving. Still hungry after our snack run, we decided to stop at Spiffos for a bite to eat. There's that cute little squirrel again. After dealing with the town drunk, we ran into something unexpected. Jim Bob. Now, I don't know much about Jim Bob, but from what I understand, he's in charge of the law around here. He gave us a warning about our illegal park, and then we went on our way. Next stop, the clinic. We stole all we could, then I realized just how insignificant we were. Another goal of ours was to collect as many planks as possible. At some point, we were going to attempt to fix up our home and board all the windows. So we grabbed as many planks as our little van could transport. I came across this fake fireman's pole, then got lost. Someone left their pants here on the ground, and we secured a second vehicle. It was time to do what I never thought I would be ready to do: drive. With a proper driving instructor, I was able to not crash and die. We took this caravan back home and parked it. It was this very night that I discovered crafting. I did what any newly learnt crafter would do and made a spear. It seemed like the coolest thing I could conjure up with all the wood planks I had found. Wanting to go out and put the spear to the test, we set out once again. Jim Bob was there, no less creepy than the first day we met, and we were off. We found a section of town that reminded me of where I grew up and decided that was the perfect place to stab people. Another thing we were after: a generator. See, at the time of our playthrough, there was no electricity anywhere. We needed a generator to get things working in our home. I impaled someone and took him down with one shot. Ducky had told me not to use the spear. He was wrong. I fought and took down my next victim. My spear broke right in my hands. Ducky was right. To thank him, I removed this broken glass from the window so he wouldn't hurt himself climbing through it. A job well done. It was time to put that carpentry skill to work. I started removing planks from these windows in hopes of getting some nails out of it. 12 planks later, I had acquired 0 nails. Mission unsuccessful. Ducky let me drive so I could get some more experience. I drove about as well as anyone with 3 minutes prior experience would have. A small horde later, we had arrived at this house and I found some new shoes. Next house up the road, small horde dealt with, generator secured. That was a big victory for us. A true highlight of the run. I checked inside the house and I found this bread knife, and while I was staring at it, got ran up on by a zombie. I performed what I'll call the worst miss of my video game career and accidentally let the zombie take a free sample of me. I had been bitten. The end was now inevitable. I couldn't bear to tell Ducky what had happened, so I didn't. The very least I could do now was put off my problems until they couldn't be put off anymore. We took our generator and made it back home to drop it off. The only problem now was that our simple minds could not figure out how generators worked. This could be remedied by finding the magazine on how to work generators and reading it. The only thing stopping us from entering the 21st century was finding that magazine. So that was our next step. We drove to the local bookstore in hopes of finding that particular magazine. It wasn't there. We drove to a supermarket and I started stocking up on rotten food. I had heard if you ate enough of it, you would meet your demise. I figured at some point, instead of turning into a zombie randomly, I would just eat rotten food until I passed away. It seemed more convenient for all of us involved. I changed my dirty bandage in the back room to hide my shame, then sat in the van while Mom finished shopping. We noticed in the chat log that the guy we had run into at the supermarket had died. He had apparently gotten bitten by a zombie and offed himself. What a nerd. I said that was unlucky. In preparation for my own demise, I started to put away all of my things into the appropriate boxes around the house. I for some reason thought this would make it easier to grab them once I returned to the world of the living. Ducky started getting suspicious and asked why I was doing this. If you were going to put a backpack away, where would you put that?
If I was going to put it away?
Yeah, if you were going to take a backpack off and put it in one of the convenient boxes you've laid around the house, where would you...
What, do you have a spare?
No, I was going to put mine in there.
Why?
And right when I was about to tell him, I heard a gun cock. Turns out Jim Bob had let himself in, the scamp, and was just standing in the corner of the room with a gun out. Since he was there, I figured I'd ask him if he had any bleach. I then noticed a nice jar of bleach had appeared out of nowhere on the ground next to him. I assumed this was the work of Jim Bob. I dropped my backpack down on the ground and picked up the bleach. Ducky at this point was highly suspicious of what was going on, so I told him. I told him about the farmhouse and how the zombie had snuck up on me.
Are you bitten?
You remember when we were at that farm and you found that generator?
Did you get bit?
And I went inside the house and you said, don't worry, and you said, like, be careful, and I was like, careful's my middle name or whatever. That stupid thing I always say. I told him the secret I had been hiding from him all this time. It was time to say goodbye. Ducky was disappointed in me, but definitely not surprised. I sat down and waited for my time. A long period of time later, I laid down and closed my eyes. For a split second, my body disappeared. Then, much to everyone's surprise for some reason, I turned into a zombie that was immediately about to eat Duck. Jim Bob had prepared for this moment and put a nice dose of anti-zombie in the back of my head. I recreated my character the best I could from memory. I had accidentally forgotten to save my old character's preset. Then I got teleported back to our house. I found it quite odd standing on the corpse of my former self, but snapped back to the reality we were in, and looted all of my own things off the old me. Then, as a proper show of respect, we dumped my old body out in the front lawn, and I went bald. I spent some time reading all the things that were lost to me upon death, while Duck made a trade outside to acquire the magazine we so desperately needed. We didn't really have all that much to trade for the magazine, so we set out on an adventure with the trader to acquire some goods. We had a long journey ahead of us, so of course, Ducky let me drive. While I was yelling at my Twitch mods, I hit a few pedestrians, didn't stop to see if they were okay, and kept going. I was really going to get my driving experience on this journey. There were so many zombies in the middle of the road, so many zombies. I was stressed out the entire time. If you hit too many things or the wrong thing, your vehicle will stop working. This would not be good. I painted the van red, drove straight into this building I thought was a parking lot at the time, and eventually got us back on track. We found this I-95 cosplay, sorry, probably too soon, and eventually found the warehouse we were looking for and parked at it. We tried fighting off the zombies, but then decided that driving to the other side of the building to park was the optimal play. We ventured inside to look around. Our traveling companion was nowhere to be found because apparently his car had broken down along the way. He had wanted seeds, nails, or propane torches, so that's what we were looking for. I was about to drink some orange soda when this zombie busted in and I almost died the same way as before. While I was recovering from the shock, Duck drank the orange soda right out from under me. Did you just drink my orange soda, you whore? I was about to drink that. I needed that.
Whoa, dude.
I was not happy. We waltzed on down the road and found our lost friend, and the horde of zombies he brought with him. We searched the surrounding area thoroughly, found the moving corpse of a Jeremy T. Jackson, and kept on. At one point, it looked like our friend Van Drone had gotten bit. Turns out he was actually fine and fully intact. The SWAT armor he was wearing was bite-proof. While shopping for clothes, this zombie jumped out of the dressing room and scared me half to death.
Since those...
Oh my! We secured all the loot we could find and made our way back to the van. I was becoming very hungry in real life, and it was time to head home once again. This drive was smoother than all the previous ones. A combination of all the experience I had gained, plus the confidence I had acquired, made this a breeze. On the way home, in this very scene here, I learned true fear. I could make this drive with my eyes closed, honestly.
Uh-huh. The way you were screaming, oh my god, like...
Ah! What the fuck was that, man? Some jackass cut me off, and I thought for a brief moment that this was the end. Miraculously, both vehicles were fine, and I only complained about it for a few more minutes afterwards. The rest of the trip home was straightforward. We explored, I learned the ways of the world, and I perfected how to properly navigate Project Zomboid. I think this game is a gem. I've played so many zombie survival games that tried too hard to make the perfect game that they ultimately flew too close to the sun and burnt up. Project Zomboid doesn't try to be the flashiest game out there, as you can clearly tell from the graphics, but the sheer amount of content it has is what really matters here. They try to make the experience simple in graphics and movement, but immersive in UI and substance. That alone I feel separates them from every other game in the genre. This game has been on the up and up for a while now, and it only seems to be gaining more and more interest. One of the newest additions being the true multiplayer feature that they added, which is what got me on in the first place. Being able to enjoy experiences like this with friends or randoms helps keep interest and excitement, I think. There is also a crude form of VoIP in the game currently, so you can actually talk to other survivors that you come across if that's your jam. But there's also just the basic text chat options as well. I think this game is perfect for a demographic of gamers who prefer a simpler, more RTS style approach to gaming. It reminds me a lot of older computer games I used to play on my parents' laptop. It's probably the graphics that make it feel that way, but there's just something that's very nostalgic, old school, comforting about Project Zomboid, which is weird considering we're in a zombie apocalypse. Anyways, that's it for this one. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not like it, give it a thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button for more content like this, and if you ever want to watch one of these videos being filmed live, feel free to come hang out with me at twitch.tv/finestxi. Shout out to my Patreon supporters for making videos like this one possible. You guys rock. And a very special shout out to the VIP patrons: Nick RSA, Dr. Johan, Calabag, Hughes6707, Jokes with Dad, Def Not Dallas, Moreno, and Willy Boy Wonder. Thank you for the support. Anyways, that's enough rambling. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.